I drifted off for a little while in a fitful sleep. I woke up tired and cold. After getting dressed for the day, I made my way up to the inn. It was about 30 minutes until breakfast as I walked into the kitchen. There were a couple of helpers bustling around the kitchen. They momentarily paused as I came in the door, then quickly went back to work. I let them handle things and went to the front desk, where the old man sat drinking some coffee. "Good morning," I said to him, trying to sound like my usual chipper self. He just grunted at me. "Okay then," I said, leaving him be. I walked around the sitting room tidying up, fluffing pillows, and fixing up the fire. About 5 minutes before breakfast, I went into the kitchen to make myself a plate of food. I figured I might as well eat something before I got to work. After making a small plate of food, I went out to the dining room, sitting at a table in the far corner. I sipped my coffee while I picked at my food. It was a dreary day that matched my mood. "Mind some company?" came a deep, velvety voice from behind me. I jumped slightly, not realizing there was someone behind me. "Oh, sure," I said, looking around to no other than Cole. "Good morning, little flower," he said with a smile. He sat down next to me at the table with his breakfast plate. "Did you sleep last night, or was Cinderella working the night away?" he joked. I gave him a small laugh. "I sleep," I said quietly. "You aren't very talkative," he observed. I shrugged in response. He chuckled. "That's all right. I am just a customer, right? I think I am just feeling a little out of it today." "I am sorry. Enjoy your breakfast. I'll be around the inn today if you need anything," I said as I stood up. I felt bad for not being friendly with a customer. I could not bury the empty feeling inside me, and the cold was creeping back in now that I had finished my coffee. Taking my plate back to the kitchen, I got more coffee and headed to the front desk. I sighed as I sat down. Today was going to be an even longer day. By lunchtime, I was beginning to feel sluggish. I sat at the front desk checking over the schedule for the rest of the week. People started to trickle in from the dreary weather for our lunch service. The inn seemed to be running smoothly with the extra hands around, and we were not losing any money. I pondered about the possibility of hiring more permanent part-time staff to help so Amy and I could work a little less. A familiar voice broke me from my thoughts. "Why, aren't you a sight for sore eyes?" "Hello there, Miss Leah," John said, coming up to the desk. My head popped up to look at him. I gave him a weak smile. "Hi, John. How are you?" "Much better now. You back from your trip?" "Yep. I got back yesterday. Ready to go back to work." He gave me a strange look. "So, where's your friend? You have a good time on your trip?" I gave a shallow laugh. "He is busy. My trip was fine. How have you been?" "Well, that doesn't sound like you had any fun." I gave him another weak smile. "Would you like to join me for lunch? I may not be terrific company, but a friendly face sure would help." His face lit up at my suggestion. "Well, I would be honored." He held out his hand to me to grab his own. I gently placed mine in his and let him lead me around the counter. Once I reached the other side, he held his arm up and put my hand on it. I gave him a small laugh as he led the way into the dining room with showy chivalry. "So, what has made you so somber today?" he asked as we sat down. A waitress came over to get our orders. John told her to bring 2 specials and then turned to me with an expectant look. "So?" I sighed. Looking out the window, I answered, "Things just didn't play out how I hoped they would." We were both silent for a few minutes. I finally tried changing the subject. "It's okay. I have the inn and that is all I need." "So, what have you been up to?" "Busy with work." "Not really. I have been on sort of a break myself. But I'll be getting pretty busy again soon," he said. "You're in contracting, right?" I asked, hoping to keep him talking. "Yep. Basically." The waitress came with our food and drinks. She gave me a speculative look before leaving. I didn't recognize her, but I guessed she was from the pack. John immediately dug in while I picked at my food. I did not have much of an appetite still. "So, what does that involve?" I asked. "Oh, usually it just means someone needs a job done, and they call me in to do it," he said in between mouthfuls. Our waitress came back over then. "You are Azalea, right?" she asked. I nodded my head. "Oh, thank goodness. There is an urgent call out front for you." "Coming right now," I said, standing up. Turning to John, I mouthed an apology and quickly darted from the dining room. I moved quickly to the front desk where the phone was lying, the light blinking telling me someone was on the line. "Hello, this is Azalea," I answered as calmly as I could. A growl came from the other end. Hello?" There was heavy breathing in between growls. Realization washed over me. "No," I stuttered, and he growled again. Slamming the phone down on the receiver, I ran from the room, heading out the front door. My breath was shallow, and my heart was racing. I reached the porch and grasped the railing, trying to calm down. "Are you all right?" came a voice from behind me. I nearly jumped out of my skin. Clutching my chest, I turned to see Cole standing in the doorway. I held up one finger to indicate that I needed just a moment. I turned around, trying to collect myself. Before I could get myself completely under control, I felt a hand touch my lower back. "No!" I screamed, jumping away from the touch. "I'm sorry. I was just trying to help," exclaimed Cole. Cole stared at me for a few stressful minutes while I managed to calm down. "I am sorry, you scared me, is all," I tried to apologize. No. I shouldn't have done that. "I saw you run out, and you looked distressed," he said soothingly. "It was nothing. I am okay," I tried to explain. "No offense, little flower, but I know what okay looks like, and that wasn't it," he said with a stern look in his eyes. "I am sorry, but I have things that need my attention. Please let the front desk know if you need anything," I said, walking past Cole and back to the inn. I came around the desk, headed towards the kitchen. The same girl who had informed me of the phone call walked by. "Oh, wait. There was a message for you," she said, grabbing my attention. She handed me a small note before bouncing away. I put the note in my pocket and hurried out the back of the inn. I wanted to get away from everyone for just a minute. I hurried across the lawn to my apartment and slipped inside. I pulled the note from my pocket and read the neat script on the page. "Caller, Liam. Message for Azalea. Please respond to your phone. We need to speak." I crumpled the note. How dare he demand I respond to him after he calls and growls at me over the phone? I walked over to my desk, where I left the cell phone he gave me. I picked it up to see that about 20 missed calls and another 20 messages. Before I could even begin reading the messages, there was a knock on my door. It really wasn't my day today. I tried to ignore it and pretend I was not here. The knocking continued, followed by a voice. "Miss Leah, I know you are back here. Please open up." John's voice floated through the door. I sighed. Opening the door, John stood there with an expectant expression. "Sorry for leaving you," I said quickly. "What happened?" "Girl up front said you were acting strange," he asked. "Nothing, just having a bad day. Lots of stress coming back," I replied. "All right, well, I have to go. Let me know if you need anything." "Sure," I nodded at him, trying to smile. He left the doorway and headed back around the inn. My phone rang in my hand as I closed my door. I swallowed hard before reading the caller ID. It read Lily, and I sighed in relief. "Hi, Lily," I answered. "Azalea, what is going on? Are you with someone?" she asked, worried. "No, what do you mean?" "I am working. I know you probably don't care much about him at the moment, but Liam is losing it. Damien has managed to keep him from storming out to you, but he is losing his mind about some John guy. How does he know I had lunch with John?" "Who is John?" "Just a customer, a regular customer of the inn." "How does he know I had lunch with him?" "It literally just happened." I almost screamed. I was getting mad now. "Azalea, there are still wolves at the inn," she said hesitantly. "So, I am being spied on in my own home? It wasn't bad enough that he had to do that, but now he is going to spy on me." I did not think I needed to tell him that this is all over explicitly. I sent Damien away and asked him to remove the wolves. I just want to go back to my simple life here. I know it wasn't her fault, but I was furious. The words were just pouring out of me. "Azalea, please calm down. I really need to talk to you about something," she said, trying to be unruffled. "Well, what is it, Lily? Why don't I come up there for dinner?" "This is a better conversation to have in person," she suggested. "Fine. Dinner starts at 6. I'll be at the front desk." I shot, and with that, I hung up the call. I spent the rest of the afternoon cleaning up my apartment and unpacking from the disastrous lake house trip. I knew I should take care of things at the inn, but I was too irritated about everything to deal with it. I planned to tell Lily that she needed to take the pack members with her and that Liam would need to come here soon so I could officially reject him. Chapter 42. Liam. Lily came into my office. Damien was still hovering as I paced back and forth behind my desk, seething. We were mated, and she was running into the arms of that stalker at the inn. Did she feel nothing? My rage was making me irrationally angry, but I didn't care. So, I asked expectantly. She said she was just having lunch with a customer. I don't think your little growling, wolf-out moment on the phone with her helped the situation, she said calmly. Yeah, Vanessa said that it looked like she had a panic attack and ran outside when she hung up on you, Damien added. Shit. Look, I am going to go up there and explain everything. Maybe I can calm her down, but I am not going to force her to come to you, Liam. I don't know how, but you will have to fix this. You hurt Azalea worse than anyone ever has, Lily said, holding my gaze. She was probably the only she-wolf in the pack that would when I was angry like this. She won't answer her phone or reply to my messages. How the hell am I supposed to do anything if she refuses to speak to me? I shouted at them. Lily shook her head, giving me a sad look. Liam, you feel the bond stronger than she does. You feel her hurt and you are hurt. You need to get yourself in check. You need to give her time. Even if being separated hurts you, you must give her space, Lily said solemnly. She turned around and left my office, shooting Damien a look that meant he should follow. I sat down feeling less angry but more defeated now. I put my head in my hands. Damien left my office without a word. I knew he was still mad at me but had at least stopped me from shifting and running straight to the inn to rip John's head off. Why the fuck did you do this to us? I said to Gavin. I got no response. Azalea. It was about 15 minutes before Lily was supposed to meet me. I made my way from my apartment up to the inn. I sighed as I walked into the lobby going behind the desk. The she-wolf behind the desk gave me a tight smile as I grabbed the stack of checkout papers for the next day and began skimming them. I was trying my best to ignore the other wolves here, hoping Damien would have them gone soon. The bell over the front door rang. I looked up to see Lily walking in. I gave her a tight smile, walking around the desk to greet her. She immediately pulled me into a tight hug. A tear slipped down my cheek as I let her hold me. She pulled away, asking, "Are you okay?" with concern in her voice. I nodded, dashing the tear from my cheek. So, where do you want to talk? She asked. Let's get out of here. Too many eyes on me, I said, motioning towards the door. We walked down the drive, and she pulled her keys out of her pocket. No. I don't do cars. It isn't far from here to the cafe, and it will be dead this time of day. Let's just walk, I said. She nodded. We walked in silence to the same cafe Liam and I had gone to on our date. We sat down at a table. A waitress came over and took our order. Lily looked at me nervously after she left. I sighed. What do you need to tell me, Lily? I really don't think it will change anything, I said. First, you should know that Damien and I are so mad at him right now. Damien is barely speaking to him, and he is beating himself up about not stopping it, she said. I shifted in my seat, pulling my sleeves further down my wrists. Lily's eyes dropped to them. Liam is killing himself as well. He is locked in his office day and night. He isn't eating, barely sleeping. I don't think he has ever done anything he felt so ashamed of as this. Her eyes searched mine for something. All I could do was give her a slight nod. The waitress came back over with our coffees. I pulled mine to me, sipping the piping hot liquid, trying to warm the frozen hole in my body. Lily continued, so there are two things I think you should know. First, about the mating. I know you didn't have a mom and aren't the average werewolf, but I am sure some will affect you. When two wolves mate, their connection becomes more permanent even if the female is not marked. Rejection can still happen, but it is more likely to kill the pair than before mating. She paused, sipping her coffee. I sat completely still, not wanting to believe what she was saying. After wolves mate, they are supposed to be able to feel each other wherever they are. They also become reliant on each other. If they are separated too long, it can affect the wolf in a number of ways, make them weaker, lessen their senses, cause pain, emotional instability. It sort of depends on the wolf. I do not know what you are feeling, but Liam is feeling the effects. I sat there a little shocked. Does this mean? I can't. I have to, I whispered, unable to finish the sentence. I don't know what this means. Honestly, I am so conflicted. What happened should have never ever happened. But Liam was not in control. Gavin went nuts, and I don't think he has spoken to Liam since. The Liam I know, she stopped for a moment before continuing her thought. The Liam I know is fair and just. He is considerate and kind at heart. He is firm, tough, and reliable, but also merciful. Learning about you has put together so many pieces in place for me. Azalea, he yearned for you for years. He wouldn't admit it or blame anyone for his misstep. He played his part and looked for a mate he knew he would not get because he didn't deserve her. I have never seen him so jubilant and free as he was at the lake house with you. Even when you weren't looking, his eyes were on you. I could see how much he cared about you from the moment he came upstairs to get you after that first wave of heat died down. I know he would never even consider hurting you like that. Tears were threatening to spill from my eyes now. I wasn't ready to talk about any of this and wasn't ready to forgive Liam either. We were connected now, and I couldn't reject him, and even Lily couldn't be all the way mad at him. My hands were shaking around my coffee cup. Lily reached forward, grabbing my hand. I am not telling you to forgive him. I just want you to understand everything, she said. I sniffled. What's wrong? She asked quietly. My lip quivered. I fell in love with him, Lily. I let myself fall in love with him. Oh, sweetheart, she said. She rubbed my hand comfortingly. We sat there quietly for a few moments. There is something else you should know, she finally said. Worry was etched across her face. The thing we were keeping from you. There was another threat. My eyes grew big. Fear started to wash over me. Lily continued, none of us wanted to tell you and worry you more. With everything going on, you were having a rough enough time without threats to you and Liam. What? Who? I tried to ask. We don't know, but we suspect it is the hunter. We know there was a note left for you and one for Liam before we arrived, she said. One for Liam? I was confused. He didn't tell you? I shook my head. That man, she said, rolling her eyes. When Gavin came forward and scared you that first night, Liam found a note on the doorstep. Whoever it was knew that you two were there. Now we cannot tell if this hunter is after you to get to Liam or after both of you. Both of us. The note we got that night suggests he wants Liam out of the way so he can have you. I paled at her words. Why would he want me? I am nothing. We don't know. But I think you being away from where we can keep you safe is making all of this worse for Liam. It's just compounding on all the things he is feeling. My heart clenched. Lily, please, you can't make me go to the pack house. I begged in a whisper. She shook her head. Azalea, I won't make you, but I won't lie to you. We are worried about you out here. Damien told me you wanted him to remove the other pack members, but I don't think it's a good idea. I considered her words for a minute. I did not want to go to the pack house, but if keeping the other wolves at the inn meant that Liam would stay away, I could manage it for now. If Liam promises to stay away, the pack members can stay, I concluded. She smiled at me, obviously a little relieved at my compromise. I looked out the window, trying to make sense of everything in my head. Lily had dropped a lot of information all at once. It was overwhelming on top of my current situation with Liam. I really missed Amy at that moment and wished I could tell her about everything. Lily broke me from my reverie. How about we head back? You look like you could use some sleep, she said, standing up and placing some money on the table. I nodded and followed her lead. The walk back to the inn was silent. Lily left me on the front steps, and I waved to her as she went to her car and pulled out of the lot. My chest hurt a little as she left, and I was alone again. Walking back inside, I went to the front desk to ensure there were no messages. Dinner service was over, and they would be done in the kitchen by now. After Lily and I's conversation, I wasn't hungry, so it didn't bother me much. Just the flower I was looking for, said a deep voice, startling me. I jumped, looking up at Cole on the other side of the desk. He chuckled. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. You are a bit jumpy, he said with a smile. Not always. What can I help you with? I asked. I was hoping you might be able to help me. See, I got back too late for dinner, and that other restaurant in town seems to be closed for the owner's birthday or something, he said. Oh yeah. They close down occasionally as they are a family-run business. I can probably help you out. I must warn you, though, I am not a great cook. I usually stick to baking. Anything will do. I appreciate the help, he said. All right, come on back to the kitchen with me. I am sure we can find something, I said, motioning him to follow me. Cole followed me to the kitchen. So, anything in particular? I asked. I can eat anything, he said. I nodded. I went to the fridge to see what was in there. It seemed like there were some things left over from today or yesterday. I started pulling out dishes that I could heat for him. We can whip up any of this, so choose whatever, I said, setting the dishes on the prep table. Well, what would you like to have? I saw you walking in just before me, he said. I looked up at him, confused. I wasn't following you or anything, he exclaimed. I laughed. No, not that. Never mind. I am not too hungry, actually. How is Cinderella supposed to work the night away on an empty stomach? He joked. I giggled. You are very sweet. He smiled at me. Not as sweet as the scent of a beautiful flower, he said. My eyes grew wide and my cheeks blushed. Cole. I'm not. So, there's a guy. I guess this isn't fate after all, he said with a chuckle. I am only playing Azalea. You just seem like a wonderful girl to be stuck in this tiny little town. Well, this is home, so, how about this? I said, holding up what looked like a chicken Alfredo casserole. He nodded. I set to work warming it up and getting him a plate. I handed him a plate and some utensils. You can just leave the plate in the sink. I can clean it up tomorrow. I am not feeling great, so I am going to bed. Call the line if you need anything else, I said. He nodded. Thanks for dinner. Maybe next time you'll join me, he said with a smirk. Maybe, I said, turning to leave. Good night, little flower, he said as I exited the kitchen. Chapter 43. Liam. I sat fidgeting nervously at my desk, waiting for Lily to come back. I had asked her to come talk to me when she returned, but she did not reply to my message. I hoped she would not ignore me on this. I completely abandoned all the work on my desk. My mind was too distracted with my current mate situation to do anything else. What was Lily going to tell her, and how would she take it? How was Azalea feeling after the mating? I pulled open my bottom drawer and retrieved my bourbon. Peeking at the clock, I noticed that it was about 9:30 p.m. already. I expected Lily to be back by now. Maybe things were going well, and she was staying with Azalea longer. You really messed this up for us, I said to Gavin. He stayed silent. You know, you can't just retreat and ignore me now that you messed this up. I know you know how much this hurts with her away from us and hurt over all this. I scolded. Getting nothing from my wolf, I drank in frustration. He seemed so off since that night with Azalea. He had been cruel in the past, but this felt different. A soft knock came at the door. Looking up, Lily peered at me through the crack in the door. I nodded at her to tell her to come in. She walked in and sat down at the seat in front of my desk. I patiently waited for her to say something. Not a minute later, Damien walked in, joining us. He stood next to the desk, and we both waited for her to speak. I got her to agree to keep the wolves at the inn. With her not knowing about the others around town, I would say they should remain as well, she said, looking up at both of us. Although this was good news, this isn't necessarily what I was hoping she would come back here with. Maybe we should consider expanding our territory reach and permanently moving some families to the town, Damien suggested. I looked at him for a moment contemplating what he was saying. We could offer moving expenses to some of the Omega families to move out there. Maybe mix in a few families with warriors to make sure everyone is protected. We could look after the humans and Azalea, he continued. We can do that. But all the families should not move at once. It would look suspicious for multiple families to move at once to such a small town. Let's do this slowly. Contact the mayor. He knows about supernaturals. Do not tell him of the hunter or my mate, but gently persuade him to accept the protection we are sending, I told Damien. Damien nodded. He looked between Lily and me. She nodded to tell him she was okay, but had more to say. Damien left us in my office. You destroyed that girl, Lily whispered once Damien had left. I paled. I tried to find words, but there weren't any. Liam, she is barely hanging on. You did it. She fell in love with you. She trusted you. And in 3 minutes, you broke her. I don't even understand how she is functioning right now. She wouldn't talk to me, but I could tell, she said. Pain shot through my chest. I knew I had hurt her, but hearing it made it so much worse. I told her about the threats too. She deserved to know, she said. What? I shouted at her. She flinched slightly. Lily, I didn't want her to know. She needed to know, Liam. She isn't helpless. You cannot keep everything from her just because you think she won't handle it. Look how she handled everything until Gavin hurt her, she shot back. She was getting upset now. I get to decide what she needs to know. She is your mate, but you don't get to control her. I am keeping her safe. It doesn't help us if she is terrified. Maybe she will surprise you. You ever thought that maybe the moon goddess made her your mate because her mind works differently than yours? Liam, Azalea is a whole person with her own thoughts, worries, fears, and perspective. Just because she isn't the most traditional werewolf doesn't mean she is something less that has to be sheltered. She was breathing heavily now. We sat there, eyes deadlocked. I was too angry to respond logically, so we just sat there staring daggers at each other. Suddenly, my office door burst open and Gwen strutted through. So, are you over that traitor slut yet? She said before noticing Lily and me. What is going on in here? I was just leaving. You deserve it right now, Liam. Figure it out before she is gone for good. With that, she stormed out of my office. I sighed, rubbing my forehead. What do you want, Gwen? I asked her, noticeably irritated. I want to know why you were flaunting around with that wolfless trash in the human town. Who I associate with is none of your concern, Gwen. Oh, give it up, Liam. You haven't found your mate, and mine rejected me. I am a beta's daughter. Who else is better suited to be your Luna? No, it won't happen, Gwen. You need to give it up now. I never loved you, Gwen. This only made her angry. Seriously, Liam? You're picking that over me? Can she even shift? Are you sure she is even a werewolf? Are you going to mate a damn human? Gwen, I mean it. Stop and leave now. I was restraining myself from using my alpha tone, but she was beyond out of control. You know what? Fuck you, Liam. You will regret going after that defective floozy. She turned on her heel and stomped out of my office. I threw myself down in my chair. Gwen was getting out of control, and I would have to speak with her dad if her behavior did not improve. When Azalea comes to the pack, Gwen will not be the only one acting this way. Oh, so now you have something to say? My methods may not have been ideal, but you are now connected to her and cannot deny the increase in our power. It will not be complete until you mark her. Your methods weren't ideal? Are you kidding? They were wrong. You did not give her a choice, and you hurt her. She was a virgin. Her heat demanded. No, you don't get to use that. She asked you. She asked you to wait for her to be ready. That wasn't how it should have happened. And the bond we could have created is now weak at best. He remained silent once again. I could feel his remorse, but his pride was in the way. It felt like he was searching for reasons to justify his behavior. And I was stuck cleaning up the mess. I poured myself another drink and downed it in one gulp. I needed to neutralize this hunter and focus on fixing what had happened. I needed her now. A tear slipped down my cheek as I sat there contemplating my next move. Chapter 44. Azalea. That night I tossed and turned all night, never entirely falling asleep. By about 3:30 a.m. I gave up. I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep. Getting up, I dressed in some warm clothes and grabbed my laundry basket. I made my way up to the inn, letting myself in through the kitchen. Walking into the front lobby, I set the basket aside, noticing someone sitting on the couch by the fireplace. The fire looked freshly fed and warm. Whoever sat on the sofa didn't notice me, and I didn't want to frighten them. I slowly approached the couches, trying to get their attention. I finally got within their eyesight and got a proper look at his face. It was Cole. He finally turned his head, noticing me, and a smile crept over his lips. "Good morning, little flower," he said quietly. "Good morning. Having some trouble sleeping?" I asked. "Just a tad. Busy mind." "And you? Don't tell me this is when you start working," he asked. "Oh no. Guess you could say I was feeling a bit restless last night." Can I make you some tea or coffee? Forever the exemplary host. I am fine, thank you. Would you like to join me? It is pretty chilly this morning. Winter seems to be coming early this year. Sure. Let me just make myself some tea, and I would be happy to join you for a bit. Mind if I accompany you? He asked, standing up. I didn't want to be rude, so I nodded and let him follow me into the kitchen. I turned the light on over the stove and set the kettle on to get warm. Going to the cabinet, I pulled out some chamomile/lavender blend tea that was supposed to be helpful as an anxiety and stress reliever. Cole stood quietly next to the prep table, watching me with a smirk on his lips. What is funny? I asked him. Nothing. You just intrigue me, he said. I intrigue you? He smiled bigger as he nodded. Why? I asked him. Why not? You're interesting, he replied. That isn't a real answer. Plus, it just isn't true. I am simple and boring. There is nothing interesting about me, I said shallowly. The kettle whistled, so I turned over to the stove with my teacup. As I poured the boiling water into my cup, Cole approached me from behind. It is exactly that which makes you interesting. You can't see how intriguing you are. You can't see how crazy you can drive a man, he whispered in my ear. I froze completely. I tried to find something to say. I did not like where this was headed, and there was no one around to help me. He stepped back. Sorry, he said, rubbing the back of his head with his hand. I can come on a little strong. Guess it's in my nature. But if I am being honest, he peered down into my eyes as I looked at him. I have not been able to get you off my mind since I checked in. You have been a distraction during a time where I need to focus on my goal. I wasn't exactly sure what to say or make of what he was saying. How could I be a distraction? The only person to ever show any interest in me was Liam, and that was only after fate told him I was his one. I am sorry. I can go. I stuttered out. No. I didn't mean that. He took another step closer to me. As he got closer again, I began to shake slightly. Maybe I need a distraction, he said with a slight smile on his lips. He looked down at me with a warm expression. Don't worry. I am not oblivious. I can tell by your body language and your little freak out yesterday that you are not too in favor of physical contact with anyone. I wouldn't do anything without your consent. I looked away from his honest expression and mumbled, I have heard that before. I didn't intend for him to hear me. I get the feeling that you don't believe it now, he said, bringing my attention back to him. My eyes grew large. You don't have to tell me. You don't owe me anything. But know that I don't touch things that are not mine. His eyes searched my face for a moment. Finally, he continued, I should probably head to my room. Maybe grab a nap before breakfast. Thank you for the company, little flower, he said. He stepped back and bowed slightly to me before exiting the kitchen. What the heck was going on at this inn? After Cole left last night, I did some laundry before sitting down in front of the fire. I drank some tea and just stared at the slowly dying fire until about 6:30 when Amy came trudging through the front doors with Abby on her heels. When Abby entered the inn, she saw me immediately, dropped her little frozen bag, and ran to me screaming, Isla. I opened my arms and scooped her up into a big hug. I was delighted to see her again and hoped maybe I could get back to normal. Channeling all my energy into the inn and Amy and Abby would be a welcome distraction. Glad you are alive, Amy said, coming over to me with a smile. Sorry, I meant to call. How was your time off? I asked her. We went to Grammy's. Abby cheered in my arms. Amy rolled her eyes. Mother-in-law drama? I asked her with raised eyebrows. Always, but she dotes on Abby, so what can I do? She laughed. I got up to follow her in the kitchen. Abby began to babble away, telling me all about what her, Grammy, and Pop did. She seemed more talkative than before I left. Is she talking more? I whispered to Amy as Abby prattled on. Amy nodded and opened her eyes wide. I giggled at her expression. Amy pulled out Abby's chair, and I got her settled. Looking at her sweet face, I bent down and asked, So, what does Abby think we should make for breakfast today? She smiled impossibly larger and shouted, Pancakes. Pancakes it is. I cheered. Amy shook her head at us. I grabbed her coloring books and settled her while Amy started pulling out ingredients. With Amy coming back today, there wasn't any kitchen staff until lunch. We were all going to have to adapt to some changes. The extra staff around here would definitely be an adjustment for us. I began helping Amy prep the sides while she whipped up some pancake batter. So, she started, where is he? Where is tall, hot, and gorgeous? I stilled for a moment. I quickly recovered, hoping it had gone unnoticed. At home, I guess, I said, trying to be nonchalant. Wait, she stopped. What happened? You were falling head over heels for him before you left on this spur-of-the-moment trip, and then you come back and poof. Nothing. He is nowhere in sight, and you guess he is at home when he was here almost every day before you left? I am not buying this at all. Spill it. What happened? She said with a stern voice. I should have known I would not be able to pass it off with Amy. I sighed. How did I explain this? I just don't think we want the same things right now. It just isn't in the cards for us. I avoided her gaze as I began to cut up some strawberries. I don't buy it. Leah, what happened? She asked again, more earnest this time. I could feel the tears threatening to fall. Just then, the old man hobbled into the kitchen. Azalea, you might as well tell her everything. Not like she isn't owed the explanation. I stared in amazement at him as he poured a cup of black coffee and left the kitchen. He wanted me to blatantly break wolf law and tell a human about us. On the one hand, it may help Amy understand everything better, and I would not feel like I was lying to her. On the other hand, she could freak out and run from here. I sighed. A wolf usually needs the permission of their alpha before telling someone this. That was not an option currently. I could call Lily, but I don't think she would understand this. Okay, what is he talking about? She questioned. Tell me what? Explain what? Amy looked at me expectantly. Okay, I am going to tell you something, but you must swear that no one else will ever know. You can't even tell your husband. Okay, why do I feel like you used to be in a cult? Haha. Almost, I laughed shallowly. I let out a breath before beginning. So, I am a werewolf. Well, mostly. And so are the old man and Liam. I grew up in the same pack as Liam. That is how he knew me. I paused, waiting for her to react. Her face was contorted in a confused expression. Huh, she finally said. This was going to take a while. It took me over an hour to fully explain everything to Amy. We did manage to get breakfast made, but she had so many questions. There was a lot to explain, and she was patient the whole time. By the time I got to the end of the story and why I came back, Amy looked like she was ready to rip Liam's head off. I told her I had no intention of seeing him again, which helped pacify her slightly. I left out the parts that Lily had just told me yesterday. I wanted to pretend they weren't real as long as I could. We sat in the kitchen with coffee as I yawned. You look so tired, Leah. Like worse than a couple of weeks ago. You should go nap, she said. I shook my head. I can't sleep. I don't know what it is. Plus, I want to keep an eye on things up here, I told her. All this extra help we got has really helped, you know. We don't need to work so hard now. We can probably have a couple of days off without worry now. Take the day. Go read a book and fall asleep, she said. I knew she was trying to look after me. Excuse me, Azalea, came Lemon's voice from the doorway. What's up, Lemon? I asked, turning to her. There is a Dr. Ronald out front for you, she said hesitantly. Okay? Be right there, I told her, looking back to Amy. She raised her eyebrows. Once Lemon was out of the room, she spoke. So, Dr. Ronald is Dr. Blackfur, Liam's uncle, right? I nodded my head. Why is he here, though? He didn't bring Liam, right? She asked. I shrugged. I don't think Liam is here, or Lemon would have said so. I think she has a crush on him. I stood up. I'll be back. Maybe me and Abby will go play in the lobby for a bit. Amy gave me a tight smile and nodded as she took my coffee cup. I left the kitchen to go up front. When I got to the front, Dr. Blackfur was indeed waiting for me. When he laid eyes on me, he smiled warmly. Azalea, how are you, dear? He asked nicely. I'm okay. How are you, Dr. Blackfur? I replied. I told you, call me Ron. I wanted to come check on you. Maybe talk to you about my nephew for a few minutes, he said. I could feel myself pale slightly. Sure. We can go to the dining room. It's empty for a little while longer, I said. I led the way into the dining room, offering him a chair at a table near the window. We both sat down. I sat there with my eyes down and my hands fidgeting in my lap. So, I see you guys are back from your little trip. How was that? He asked. Fine. I met Lily and Damien, I said. I knew I wasn't being very forthcoming, but I wasn't sure what, if anything, Liam had told his uncle. I get the feeling it was not very fine. Do you want to tell me what happened? Doctor-patient confidentiality, he said, raising his hand like he was swearing an oath. I shook my head. Everything was just fine, I said, probably not very convincingly. Well, according to some, my nephew came home in quite the mood. But if you do not want to spill the beans, I won't make you. I wanted to talk to you about your situation. I nodded my head as he continued. How have you been feeling lately since spending time with Liam? He asked. I thought for a moment. If I was being honest, I felt so much better with Liam around. I slept better. I felt safe and secure. I was worried about the hunter, but never felt insecure knowing Liam was close. I felt light and happy when we were together. Since that night, I have felt heavy and cold. There was this sadness that would not go away, and this anxiety that I couldn't soothe. It was like my body still yearned for him even after what happened. I have been feeling much better when I spend time with him, I said with a small smile. How does it feel when you are with him? Do you physically feel any different? I guess I feel warmer and lighter. He makes me happy, I said quietly. Dr. Ron smiled. Good, that is great to hear. When Liam touches you, what do you feel? I blushed a little. Warmth. Pleasurable warmth that spreads through my body. It feels amazing. And when he kisses me, it's like tiny sparks from his lips to mine. Fantastic. That is great news. I looked at him quizzically. I believe this means your bond is growing. It is a good sign that you are feeling the effects as well. So, have you found out anything about my condition? Will I be able to get my wolf back? I asked a little hopefully. I am afraid I don't have a good answer for you yet. If you could give me a little more time, I would like to keep monitoring your progress as I research, he said with an odd look on his face. I nodded. Well, if there is nothing else you would like to tell me or questions you have, I will let you get back to your day. Thank you for indulging me today, Miss Simmons, he said as he stood. I stood up as well and walked him to the front. Before leaving, he turned and said, I don't know what happened with my nephew, and I know he can be difficult. But I do know that he cares deeply for you, Azalea. I know that he will do anything to keep you safe and happy. Please remember that. He left me standing in the lobby of the inn feeling very conflicted. Chapter 45. Liam. My phone rang, waking me from my drunken stupor. Hello, I answered in a mumble without even checking the caller ID. Good morning, nephew, came my uncle's voice. Uncle Ron, I groaned, trying to sit up. I had passed out in my office at my desk. I was just with your mate. Thought I would speak with you, he said in a serious tone. How is she? I asked quickly. I was hoping you could shed some light on that, actually. Based on your previous descriptions, she has changed dramatically. She tells me all the right things, yet I am guessing something has happened between you two that may not have her as happy as she claims to be. I sighed. I did not want to tell him I had lost control and hurt her. I sort of messed up. She is mad at me right now, rightfully. But I will find a way to fix it. Liam, did you and Azalea mate? My eyes grew wide. Who? How? How do you know? She told you. No. But her scent has changed. It is almost mixed with yours. But she bears no marking. And she did not say a single word about this. I suspect this goes beyond bashfulness. I ran my hands through my hair. It wasn't exactly as planned. I think I can fill in the blanks, his tone now deadpan. I don't think I need to warn you about what will happen if you are separated too long. No, I said. I have already been feeling the effects. Liam, you need to make this right. And you need to tell your father soon. I think you should ask him about Azalea's parents. You both should know the truth. What are you talking about? I said, concerned. Call your father, boy. And apologize to your mate. He hung up the phone before I could say anything else. I sighed. I looked at the missed calls and messages on my phone. Damien had called 3 times this morning, finally texting me to let him know when I was awake. There was also a message from my mother asking if I could come to a get-together next weekend. Yet another attempt to find me a mate, I am sure. Apparently, my father was never going to tell her. I got up and headed out of my office toward my bedroom. I reeked of alcohol and needed to shower before doing anything else today. I undressed and climbed into the shower, not even allowing it to warm up. The cold water washed away any remaining sleep in me. I was wide awake by the time I washed and exited the shower. I left my bathroom with a towel around my hips. Out of habit, I grabbed my phone and unlocked it to check for messages. Azalea's smiling face looked back at me. My heart hurt as I looked at her beautiful face. I needed to fix things with my mate, and I had no idea how to do that. If I was honest, I didn't think I actually deserved her forgiveness. Knowing that this would not get me anywhere, I dialed Damien. His phone rang a couple of times, but no answer came. I hung up before leaving a voicemail. Just then, the door to my room swung open, and Damien stood there with a tray of food. "Good, you're finally up. We have work to do. Get dressed and eat," he said, setting the tray down. There was another message sent last night. He left the room with no further preamble. I dressed quickly. I brushed my teeth and fixed my hair before heading out of the room. I grabbed the sandwich Damien brought me on my way out. Shoveling the food in my mouth as I walked back downstairs, I linked Damien. "Where are you?" "My office." "With our fathers," he linked back. "Shit, what were they here for?" I moved faster and made it to Damien's door. It was open slightly, so I walked right in. "You good for nothing, spoiled brat. How dare you let this happen?" roared Damien's father, Declan. His eyes were almost black, and I knew his wolf was close to the surface. He had nothing to do with this. "Your daughter's antics brought this on her," my father yelled at Declan's head. Whatever was going on was serious. Declan and my father were best friends, and had been through a lot as the former alpha and beta. I growled loudly. "What is going on?" I yelled at everyone, letting my alpha tones slip into my words. Damien gave me a deadpan look. "Gwen was attacked last night. And there was another message left with her half-dead body," he said emotionlessly. "If you were doing your job and had neutralized this hunter, my daughter would not be lying in the hospital." Declan yelled again. "Damien, where is the message?" I asked levelly. My father looked at me with dissatisfaction written all over his face. Damien handed me the note that was found with Gwen. I read the note. "That little flower will not be yours for much longer. But silly little she-wolves will not be taking her from you. That will be me." My blood instantly boiled. Where was this note found? Why was it with Gwen? I demanded. "Apparently, Gwen was not happy with your conversation yesterday and took matters into her own hands. She was found this morning on patrol with this note clipped to her," Damien said calmly. I knew he was not happy for many reasons. He had to be upset that his sister was involved. "What does he mean, took matters into her own hands?" my father interjected. I could see the rage bubbling under the surface. Damien looked at me, asking for permission to tell them just what Gwen was doing. I nodded my head slightly, knowing this could not remain a secret much longer. "Gwen does not approve of Liam's mate," he said. "Your mate? What mate? Who is she that Gwen would be angry?" Declan demanded. "Son, I warned you," my father began, but I just held up my hand. "My mate is a member of this pack that was ostracized for her parentage. She now resides in the human town. Gwen was not supposed to know but found out anyway. She has decided to make moves against her future Luna, which is an act punishable by execution or expulsion," I said resolutely. "No," my father roared. "She will not be Luna of this pack. That is not for you to decide. She is my mate. The moon goddess has decided. The girl can't be your mate. You rejected her. And she never accepted." I growled furiously. His face paled. "Yes, I messed that up too, Dad. Anything else you want to blame me for?" He had no words. I turned to Declan. "I am sorry your daughter has been hurt. She will receive the best care our pack can provide. But do understand this, she went after my mate with the intent to hurt her. She is lucky to not only be alive, but to have not gotten to her. Her fate will be decided after she has recovered. Her actions reflect on you. She was given an order from her alpha to let it go, and she disobeyed. I am not her mate, and she has no claim to me." The former beta nodded at me. "Now, former alpha and beta, if you will excuse Damien and me, we have things to discuss." Declan looked to his son, who nodded, indicating he should go. My father began to walk out behind him. He stopped before exiting. Before you accept her as your mate, maybe you should find out where she comes from. He walked out, slamming the door. I turned to Damien. His face was unreadable. I am sorry about your sister, I said honestly. She may annoy me and have been wrong to go after Azalea, but I would not wish my best friend's sister harm. She shouldn't have gone after Azalea. I am sorry, he said, hanging his head. I sighed and sat down in the chair across from his desk. He sat down as well. We need to stop this guy before anyone else gets hurt, I said. I think he wants Azalea and you, Damien said without looking at me. What do you mean he wants Azalea and me? I think he wants you out of the picture and to take Azalea for himself. Think about it. We know he has access to her, and we can't stop it. We know he has been inside of her house. We know he is monitoring her. But he hasn't made a move to take her or harm her. Just use all this information and access to threaten you. I nodded my head. If he wants my mate, then I can't imagine he is going to wait much longer. If he is watching her, I am sure he knows that we are not speaking. She either needs round-the-clock protection or to come to the pack. It is that simple, Damien said with seriousness. You and I both know she will never agree to either of those. She will never come to the pack willingly, especially in the same house as me. Maybe it is time you go to the inn and fix this, Liam, Damien said. I know it's not what you want to hear, but the only one who can fix the mess you made is you. I don't even know where to start. I said, hanging my head. It doesn't matter. Damien yelled. My eyes shot up to him in surprise. Damien had never lost his cool like this, especially with me. He was breathing heavily. She is your mate. It was your job to protect her, and you are the one who hurt her. You left Lily and me to clean up your mess. Lily is a mess worrying about that girl. She said Azalea is in shambles trying to pretend she is fine. After everything we did as kids, you think she deserved that. You're right. I fucked up. You think I don't know all those things? You think if I knew how to fix this, I wouldn't? You think if I could have stopped it, I wouldn't have? I yelled back. I am dying here without her, knowing she is there broken because of me. I rejected her and accepted that I would get no second chance. I never thought this would happen. We were both standing now. We had never fought like this. Damien had always had my back. Damien looked down at his desk. You have one day. One day to figure out how to get her to forgive you. Then I will step in, Liam. He didn't look back up at me. I took this as my cue to leave him. I left his office and went to my own, trying to figure out what to do. I did not even know if she would agree to speak with me if I went to see her. How could I ever convince her to forgive me if I knew what had happened was unforgivable?